Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Turbulent File about 3 months ago. The post is titled, "I'm babysitting my sister and she thinks she needs to go to the ER for her period." Okay, so I, 19M, am babysitting my little sister while our parents are on an international trip. It's like a completely different time zone and the signal sucks. They get home in about 6 days. But we are both pretty self-sufficient and felt like it would be fine since my parents left us food and money and stuff. We've been doing great for a whole week so far. Anyway, this morning she got her period while we were just sitting and playing video games and she got blood all over the couch. I paused the game while she took care of it and put on a tampon, not making a big deal out of it. I was trying to be nice because I know it can make girls cranky and it hurts and stuff, so I got snacks and a blanket and we kept playing. Well, about 40 minutes later, she freaked out because she bled on the couch again. I asked her if she put the tampon on wrong or what. She changed again and I even helped her clean the blood off the couch this time. I figured she'd use a bigger feminine product. No big deal. About 30 minutes after we started playing again, she paused and went to the bathroom. I heard her scream, so I ran over there thinking there was a spider or something, but she came out holding this chunk. It was like a chunk of blood. Looking at it, I thought, shit, maybe that's an organ. Is that your kidney? But she said, no, it's a clot, and she was freaking out about it. Yeah, it was gross. It was about the size of a hacky sack. So I told her to go flush it. Anyway, she cleaned herself up, but then said she didn't want to play anymore. So I was like, okay. She spent an hour on the couch with her face all scrunched up doing yoga breathing and telling me her cramps were the worst ever. I gave her Tylenol, but she wouldn't take it because she said she felt like she was going to throw up. I brought her water and juice and warmed up that gel thing you stick on your stomach, you know? So I was trying to help. Then she said, oh no, got up and went to the bathroom. As she walked there, blood was going down her leg. She yelled for me from the bathroom, so I went in there. She was sitting there when I heard this plopping sound. There were more of those chunks, maybe 2 of them. She said, I think we need to go to the ER. I asked why, and she told me this was more blood than she'd ever had and that she didn't feel good. But periods are supposed to suck, right? And she wouldn't take the Tylenol either, so she didn't really try to manage it at home. Then she started yelling at me, telling me that I had to take her because she couldn't drive. But I'm pretty sure our parents will kill me if I take her to the ER for her period. Is that a thing? She's sitting in the shower now because she thought the warm water would feel good and that she was sick of bleeding on stuff. It's more comfortable than the toilet. I asked her if she just needed a bigger tampon, but she told me to shut up, so now she's not even communicating with me at this point. I've asked her a few times if she's okay in there, and she tells me I'm bleeding out. Mason, what do you think? So she's not unconscious. I don't know anything about this, but also know that she hates blood and flips out about any minor cut too. Is going to the ER because of a period a thing? Can you bleed too much? I thought there was only a certain amount of blood in the every month. I feel like she'd be more comfortable at home anyway if she'd just take the Tylenol. I don't know what to do. My sister is average teenage girl height, pretty skinny because she's a ballerina and doesn't eat meat. She takes Accutane for her pimples. I'm not sure if there's other stuff that's important. She's had her period for about a year now, I'm pretty sure, maybe more. She takes Flintstone gummy vitamins sometimes, the ones in the purple jar, and she's obsessed with Celsius energy drinks. She wears contacts and had her wisdom teeth removed 2 months ago. I want her to be okay, but I'm not sure if going to the ER is a good choice. Help. Alright, so I guess I was posting updates in the comments, but it's better to do it here. Anyway, my sister is okay. She had some scans that were all fine, and they don't think she has fibroids or tumors or anything like that. She's feeling a little better, but is still staying here for at least another day. Our mom and dad are flying home tomorrow now. My mom was pissed that I texted her instead of calling at first. I already had someone try to find me on Instagram, so if you know me or her, no you don't. She doesn't want this going around school or whatever, so don't dox us for at least 3 years. She's cool with me updating though, as long as I don't use her name or anything. Also, our parents don't know about this either. I feel like we should wait until it's been a few years to tell them too, so they don't kill me. She's going to hold this over my head forever. Anyway, they think she has a blood disorder that makes her not clot properly. I'm not 100% sure how it works because she had big clots, but they said they're pretty sure that's what's going on because her PTT took longer than normal to clot. They're waiting on von Willebrand testing to come back, but they think she probably has type 2. I'm going to Google that tonight because I don't know what it is and I've never heard of it. So if any of the doctors know what that is or if this sounds like it, let me know. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this to blow up like this. I thought this was just doctors answering questions like a helpline. But my sister said thank you to everyone for telling me to take her and that she's okay. Hi, so it's me again. Anyway, my sister was on her period and thought she needed to go to the ER, and she actually did. I've got another question now, but first, thank you to everyone who answered my first post and educated me because she was in rough shape. Except for the girl who suggested drinking whole milk. Even I'm not that stupid. Anyway, so my sister has von Willebrand disease type 2. My mom and I also have it apparently. My mom just got gaslighted for years about how much she bled, and it took my sister almost dying for us to all get diagnosed. Anyway, I play in a recreational rugby league. I'm going to have to pay dues soon, and I don't want to be out the money if I'm going to get told I shouldn't play anymore because it's a contact sport. But I don't see a hematologist for 5 weeks since I'm not urgent. So I was wondering if any of the doctors know if I'm going to get told I probably shouldn't play rugby anymore. I also like rock climbing. Is that going to be out? Should I learn chess or crochet or something? Thanks again. User Ectopatra said, I think a really cool, underrated part of this is that the sister felt comfortable enough with him to actually show him the hacky sack-sized clot. You can just tell from that they have a good relationship. User Kazel's Princess said, don't be so quick to give up on teaching. You're 19. Of course, you don't know everything, but you have demonstrated a willingness and ability to learn. You've also learned to have sympathy for those 5th grade girls who are getting their first periods and are miserable and scared about it. User Eggbeaters said, OP is awesome, entertaining, and a great brother. I cannot imagine my 2 sons coping so well at that age if this happened to their sister. I'm sure they would have just told her to shut up and stop whining. This next post was made in the Relationship Advice subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, My late husband had a son he never told me about. Now my daughter wants to know her brother. My life was turned upside down last month when I was informed of my husband's death in a work-related accident. This would, of course, be hard enough to cope with, but shortly before the funeral, a young man appeared at my house claiming to be my late husband's son. My husband hadn't spoken a word about him to me. The young man claimed to have not known about me or either of my daughters until he was notified of my husband's death and found the obituary in the online version of our local paper. The young man was 18 and must have been born before I met my husband. He also claimed his own mother died years ago and was never to his memory in a relationship with my husband. So the boy's existence is not proof of infidelity on my husband's part. However, I still feel just as betrayed. My husband never breathed a word of him to me. This boy lives in the UK where my husband sometimes worked. He traveled a lot in his line of work, and I can't help but wonder how many other secret children he had. How many times did my husband visit this boy and never tell me about it? What else was he not telling me? This boy had pictures of himself and my husband at various ages. He says he was brought up at a boarding school and my husband visited him sometimes. Though I very much want to, I have no reason to doubt his story. The boy asked to come to the funeral. I wanted to say no, but I felt like I had no right. My kids saw me talking to this stranger and poked their heads in to ask what was going on. Before I could stop him, the boy introduced himself to them as their half-brother. Now, not only do I have to figure out how to cope with all this information myself, but I also have to find some way to explain it to my children. My 8-year-old doesn't seem to get the full implications of her father keeping this kind of secret from all of us, but my 12-year-old is clearly upset, although she won't talk about it with me. At the funeral, the boy kind of lurked in the corner, but when lunch was served afterwards, he approached both my girls and was playing games like tag with my 8-year-old and some of her friends who joined in. I didn't think this was appropriate, and when I told him so, he apologized and said he did it to raise her spirits, and it's what people did for him when his mother died to cheer him up. Something about his answer irked me, and I got the impression he was trying to manipulate me into feeling sorry for him and using my children to do it. My mom and my sister came over to help me after I got the news about my husband. Of course, I talked to them about what was going on and they were shocked. My mom brought up the point that the boy might be after money. All of our important assets were in both of our names, and I am the only beneficiary of his life insurance policy. But I was not sure what could happen if he tried to sue. I asked the boy frankly if money is what he was after, and he said, "No, I couldn't take any of your money. You have kids to take care of." It irked me the way he said that, as though I was offering money and he was trying to show how good he was by turning it down. It felt as though he expected me to give it to him anyway. I asked the boy what he wanted, and he said he wanted to get to know my children because they're his sisters. In my opinion, they might be his sisters, but he's a stranger to them regardless of biological relation. Apparently, at the funeral, he told my 8-year-old he was going to ask me if he could take my girls to the aquarium, and so that got her hopes up about it before I could even make a decision. I said yes only if my mom or sister went with them because I wasn't about to let my girls go with a strange man, no matter what. Over the next week, he also took my girls to the park, ice cream place, and the lake, with my sister as a chaperone every time. I agreed to this, and it was helpful because it gave me a chance to break down and cry to my mom without the girls around. When he left and my 8-year-old hugged him and told him not to go, he said, "I promise I'll come visit again." I stepped in and said, "No, I think it would be best if you didn't come back here." He looked hurt, and my 8-year-old cried, but I was sick of him promising things without getting approval. She thinks it's a cool mystery like from a TV show that she has a secret brother, and she doesn't realize how disturbing it is that her father hid his existence. My sister asked me later why I told him not to come back, and I told her I think the whole thing is weird. I don't know this boy or his real intentions. He could be some kind of weirdo trying to get my girls alone. My sister says I judged without ever getting to know him, and he seems like a very sweet young man. He grew up mostly without a family, and he could have been jealous that my girls got all his father's attention, but instead he wanted to connect with them. My opinion is that even if those are his intentions and he's totally innocent, I still don't want him around my home or my girls. To me, he is just proof that my husband lied to me for years, and it makes me sick to look at him. My girls don't need this drama either, and even my 8-year-old is going to be traumatized once she is old enough to realize how much her dad was hiding. My girls and I don't owe him anything. My sister says that I don't have to want him in my life, but I don't have the right to deny the girls their brother. She pointed out social workers do everything they can to avoid separating siblings because of the trauma. I said it's not the same thing because my girls have only known this brother for a week. My sister said it's also important because my girl's brother is now the only person they know of their culture. My husband was like 1/8 Hawaiian, and so the girls and their brother are like 1/16. The boy appears to be white, and my daughters and I are black. But this boy was raised in the UK and he isn't part of Hawaiian culture, and honestly, I think culture is something natural and not something to force because of your genetics. My girls don't live in Hawaii, they live in Oregon, so that is their culture, not black culture or Hawaiian culture. I don't force myself or my girls to participate in African culture just because of our genetics. I thought my 8-year-old would get over her brother, and she did go several weeks without asking about him, but yesterday she asked about him again. I feel bad about ever allowing them to go anywhere together and bond. I wish I'd handled the whole thing differently, and now I don't know how to explain the situation to my kids. My 12-year-old hasn't asked about her brother, but she has been extremely closed off since her father's death, and I don't know how this issue might be complicating what she's feeling. I just need outside opinions to know what to do about this. Edit. Well, the comments alerting me to how this might be a scam attempt have opened my eyes. I didn't want to introduce this stranger to my kids, but when he showed up to deliver such shocking news, my children came in and asked what was going on. He introduced himself before I could think about how to tell my children. He asked if he could show up to the funeral, and I felt like I couldn't say no to that. But then he used it as an in with my children. He offered to them behind my back to take them somewhere, so then I felt like I would be the bad guy if I said no. It rubbed me the wrong way, but I brushed it off. I was in a vulnerable state, not thinking clearly, and he took advantage of that. I should have trusted my instincts from the beginning. The idea that there could be scammers who prey on grieving families is just horrible, and I had no idea of such a thing. I've contacted a lawyer to figure out how to establish if there is truth to his story and what my legal obligations are to the boy. I'm also going to have a long talk with my sister to see if during their outings he had done any kind of prying that might have led to him learning information about my family that he could use somehow. I'm already in the process of getting therapy for my children and myself. Edit 2. People have been saying a lot of nasty things about me, and I don't think I'm going to get much more productive input out of this, so this is going to be my last post on this topic. I considered taking the post down, but I decided to leave it up so people can be aware that scammers operate like this. They can be so good at what they do that even hundreds of third-party outsiders will take the scammer's side. In hindsight, I can't believe I didn't see it, and I cannot believe I ever let such a person step foot in my home or even speak to my children. If my daughter asks about her brother again, I'll have to tell her she was tricked. I don't want to do that to her unless I'm completely sure. So I most likely will be asking the boy for a DNA test, birth certificate, etc. However, not until I have the chance to speak to a lawyer. User Gen57 said, I think emotions are running high right now. You've had a double whammy. I think perhaps you need to maybe see a grief counselor over this. Your girls too. That said, it's not like this boy had any control over what your husband did. Making him pay for your husband's mistake is not fair. Second, I think you would be better served to set some ground rules. Like he needs to ask you first to take the girls somewhere before he says anything to them. That would be reasonable. Having someone you know go with him is also reasonable. Do you really want to deny your daughters a relationship with their brother? You know that's going to come back and bite you. User, no one cares, said, this sucks. I completely see your side of things. But then I think of his. First, get a DNA test. If it comes back positive, then stop and think about his side. He is probably there because his dad just died and he is now an orphan, likely looking for some kind of family connection. You guys are all he has now. Yeah, it's hard on you and your daughters, but imagine being him, left in a boarding school, hidden away from his dad's side of the family. He is probably feeling as heartbroken as your daughters, but unlike them, he may have no family to turn to help him grieve. I know you don't have to let him into your life or your daughters, but don't be mad at him. He hasn't done anything. Be mad at your husband for keeping him a secret. User Envoy Storm said, Reddit isn't letting me post my long reply, so the short of it is, you're completely taking out your anger at your husband on this dude and your kids. While your emotions are completely understandable given the situation, this isn't all about you. If you have the means to seek a therapist, right now would be the time with the confusion, grief, and anger. You're trying to twist the situation so you feel better. Me or my girls don't owe him anything. You're the one making it worse by not using self-awareness, finding any excuse to just have this shoved out of your life, and it isn't fair to your children. Did you even communicate with him that you felt like he was promising things without getting approval? Beyond that, maybe consider seeking out therapy for your children as well. The death of a father is dramatic and difficult. A while later, OP provided us with her final update. My husband's son was telling the truth. My husband's name wasn't on his birth certificate, but the DNA test did show he was related to my kids. He also had more photos, cards, and voicemails. Tons of evidence to prove that my husband did keep regular contact with him. Apparently, the son's grandparents were his legal guardians. My husband occasionally gave them cash as under-the-table child support. I did notice that my husband sometimes made large withdrawals when he went overseas. He said it was because shops there don't take his card. I wanted to believe it was a scam because I thought it made more sense than my husband having lied. Talking to my husband's son a bit more revealed he'd been lying to him too. Apparently, he told him he was a cowboy and a pro football player. Then when his son Googled him, he switched to saying he was a gangster who had done prison time. Needless to say, none of that is remotely true. I can't fathom what could possess him to behave this way. Lying to me, lying to his kid, not raising his kid. I'm questioning everything my husband ever told me and wondering if it was me who died. Would he have abandoned our kids as well? I feel horrible for that boy. I'm in therapy and working on ways to cope and forgive my husband for my own peace of mind. She's helped me work out why I reacted to my husband's son the way I did. I thought he was manipulating me and my kids. But what I actually sensed was that he wanted something from me and my kids. I felt like my daughters and I were not in a place to give anything emotionally or financially, so I recoiled from him. But that doesn't mean he's a threat. My kids went to therapy as well. My 12-year-old has weekly sessions. However, my 8-year-old hated it, so I've pulled her out for now. Many people have shared their own stories of being separated from biological relations and the effect it had on them. I don't understand it because genes don't mean much to me. However, I don't have to understand to respect it. I personally don't feel like I'm in any place to have any kind of relationship with my husband's son, and I don't think he wants one with me, but I will allow him to visit sometime if my girls want to see him. My sister agreed to continue to supervise. As far as money goes, the lawyer advised me that there aren't many assets that the son is entitled to because they were in both my and my husband's names, except for a few investment accounts that were only in my husband's name, thankfully not where the majority of our savings are. I know people think I'm an evil witch for caring about money, but I need it to feed, clothe, and educate my own children. User Classic House said, look, I get that he isn't your kid, but do you really think it's fair not to give him anything from the inheritance? That is still his father's insurance and money. How can you claim that you suddenly feel bad for him and his situation, but then pull a complete 180 when it comes to money that is rightfully just as much his as it is yours? It bewilders me. You are not a good person, OP. Under this comment, user Unholy Buy said, exactly. The kid wasn't raised by him and thought he was arrested or God knows what. He had to learn that his father died and find the family he didn't even know existed, only to be turned down so terribly. He's getting no insurance, no love, nothing. I hope OP's daughters realize what she's doing in the future and that they learn the truth. And to this comment, OP said, I haven't kept any secrets from my daughters about this situation. User Sharky Boys said, I really don't know how to feel about this, because while it was very obvious you need therapy and I'm glad you're getting it, I don't know what to think about the rest of this. He wasn't being weird nor manipulative in the first post, nor did I really see any valid reason for you to be angry and annoyed at him for wanting to connect with his siblings. Your husband's faults are not his, and to take that out on him feels cruel. He lost both his parents and was lied to by his dad and is trying to connect on some level with his family. You are not the only one who has lost someone, and while I understand grieving, that doesn't negate the harm you've caused, and I hope this is a big focus in your therapy. Your husband was the one at fault, and you were trying to take that out on an 18-year-old, and that doesn't seem healthy. In the end, I hope you try and be supportive of your children's relationship to their brother, because he sounds like a good brother, and considering your children are young and impressionable and have seen the way you treat him, they may do the same. I hope you allow them to see him because they deserve an opportunity to decide for themselves what relationship they want with their sibling. Being safe is important, so I get a supervisor, just please don't assume your beliefs are your children's. They may want that cultural or genetic connection, and as long as it isn't harmful, they should be allowed to have it. Good luck. I hope you are healing. I hope therapy goes well. I hope you are happy. To this, OP said, in hindsight, I can see my reaction was wrong. I don't have anything against my husband's son. I feel horrible for him. At the same time, I don't have it in me to build a relationship with a new family member right now, but I will try to be supportive if that's my kid's wish. Thank you for the kind words. User Dark Raven said, I can't imagine going through what you've been through. That said, I'm so glad you've come to some peace around it and will allow your girls to get to know their brother. Both of my children have half-siblings in the world, and I hope that one day they'll have a chance to meet each other. As parents, we won't be around forever, and siblings are who you make your family and extended family with. Maybe one day you'll get to a place where you can explain to the son why you had the reaction you did, and who knows, maybe you'll grow to accept the boy. You can't ask your husband why he kept it hidden, but the boy is a part of him that's still around. I'm sorry for your loss and all you've been through. Hang in there.